Is this Sgt Slaughter?
As you were, Maggot.
As you were, Maggot. I love that. I was wondering if you were going to come on there and say, drop down and give me 25, Private.
I would have, but I don't know if you can do them or not.
Well, no, I can't do them at all. I can tell you that right now. And what a pleasure it is to have you on. And the fans have been so excited. And gosh, we've been waiting. You kept putting us off, and you know, kind of like, I don't know. You're pulling the strings right now, Sarge. You're the man.
I was pulling the strings because Vince McMahon was telling me I had to go to Raw a couple Mondays, so I wasn't available.
Yeah, I know you've been quite busy. You do so much work with those guys, and it was such a great pleasure to see you at the Cauliflower Alley and to reminisce with you for a few minutes and listen to the wonderful speech you gave. And I'm so proud you were honored there.
Well, it was a great time, a great honor, and it was even more fun to see you talk also, because I'd never seen you speak before like that, and the way you ended it was pretty hard to follow. And I think you kind of stole the show there. Show. I think you and I and Roddy Piper got to get on the road and do our act together.
Yes, I know you. For all the fans out there, Sgt Slaughter's talking about the Roddy Piper comedy tour, and he mentioned something to me about it. If we all three got together and then did a floor show, it would be pretty funny, and I think it would be fantastic.
I think it would be. There's a lot of stories to tell, and a lot of laughs, and it'd be a good time. I think that people would really enjoy it, because the people that would come to watch it would be wrestling fans, so they would understand and want to hear those stories.
Yes, they would. And, you know, as I said earlier, before you came on, Hall of Famer you are, Cauliflower Alley honoree now,
Yes.
Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, what all, you got everything going, and you still got the G.I. Joe thing. And I want you to let us know how the G.I. Joe thing really came about, because that catapulted you into superstardom.
Yes. Well, I was contacted by Hasbro Toys. Their attorney knew my attorney, and they were trying to think of some way to bring me into the G.I. Joe cartoon. So we went and had a meeting up in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and I basically told them that I'm real live G.I. Joe, and they kind of looked at me and said, you know, you really are, and so let's sit down and do something. So we went back. I had the camouflage limo up there, and they were pretty impressed. And I went back to the WWE, Vince McMahon, and told him the story. And he said, "That's great, Sarge, but I won't be able to let you do it because of conflicting toy companies." And I said, "Well, what can we do?" And he said, "Not much we can do. Either you go with them or you stay with me." And I shook his hand and I said, "Well, it's nice working with you. I can always be a wrestler, but I can't always be a G.I. Joe, real American hero, and an action figure and animated hero to millions of people all around the world." So he wasn't too happy about that, and we had some headbutts about it a few times, but we finally went our separate ways, and I went into the Hasbro toy line, and my first 3 years we were the top selling boys toy for the toy maker Hasbro.
Yeah, and you know, Sarge, you mentioned that and it being a conflict with what Vince was doing, and sometimes you know, Vince is very protective of all the things that he has and all the things he's accomplished and all of his wrestlers, and a lot of ways you can't blame him. But with you being like me from the old school days, you saw an opportunity, like you said, to reach out to millions of fans around the world, around the globe, and be a G.I. Joe character and do the things that you did. And like you just said, you always go back to wrestling. That's not the problem. And plus, once you're the G.I. Joe character, then Vince is going to really want you to come back even more.
Yes. Well, I thought we could do both because at that time, as you know, Honky, we were on fire with Hogan doing his thing, and I was with the Iron Sheik, and we were going all over with you, the Intercontinental Championship, and I mean, it was just on fire, and he didn't really want to lose that, and I could understand that, as we all are businessmen in this business, and he has his business, and our bodies basically are our business, and our characters. So I just had to make a big decision. I lost a lot of money by not being in the first 7 WrestleManias, but I think without the monetary amounts, I still gained in the long run because of the just like in Cauliflower Alley Club, I got the Lifetime Achievement Award for work I did outside the ring to bring notoriety to professional wrestling, and that's what that award is about. And along with being a real American hero and a G.I. Joe action figure, I visited people all over the world. I went all over the world, Japan and Korea and Germany and all over Europe, selling the G.I. Joe product. It wasn't just an American product; it was everywhere, and it just was one of those things where I went to children's hospitals, I went to veterans hospitals, I went back to the AWA because they would allow me to wrestle and promote G.I. Joe, and it was just a win-win situation. I just wish I could have did it with the WWE because I'd like to have been in those first 7 WrestleManias. I made that decision, and that's the decision I had to live with, and I'm happy with my decision.
Yes, and I think you made the right one, and you made the right one personally and professionally, because for the fans that might be calling in from around the world, in different places around the world, and listening to us, G.I. Joe was a military character that was created by the comic books and even by the military, and has been around for decades. Several. You probably know the history on G.I. Joe a lot more than I do. And for you to be the spokesman and be that character that was in those cartoons and on the cartoon show, and be that action figure and the figurehead, I mean, I don't know of any other person that's touched as many people as that character, G.I. Joe, and you.
Right. It kind of, I'm sure it shocks you as it does me, walking down the street and people yell out, "Hey, Honky," or "Hey, Sarge." Our characters are they're endless characters. I don't mean endless. They just they were characters that just don't die out, and people still recognize us. Even though we aren't on television every week, and we aren't mentioned every 10 minutes on a show. But our characters just had that longevity that doesn't happen anymore, because our characters were different than anybody else. And if you look at characters today in professional wrestling, they kind of look like the fans in the audience. They got tattoos, and they got the earrings, and they got the hairdos that bald heads. Everybody's got a bald head, and unfortunately, some of us can't grow hair, so we have to have a bald head. But it's just something that like the Roddy Pipers and the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Superfly. I could name 100 of them, but they all look different. I mean, they were all different characters and all wrestled differently.
I was telling some people I did a store over in a collectible store over in Staten Island, New York on Saturday afternoon, and the people said the same thing you were saying, and my response to them was, you and I and our group of guys, we were all superheroes. We were those action figures. We were those cartoon characters.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what. That's above. Go ahead, Sarge.
We lived that life. We really didn't have any choice. We were put on the road sometimes 70, 80 days in a row without a day off, and twice on Saturdays, twice on Sundays. I remember wrestling 14 times in a week, and when you're in that type of a character, it almost becomes you. You live it, and you all become family and brothers and sisters because you're with each other more than you are your own family. But it was easy to take that character and put it back in the suitcase after we were done and be ourselves. And as we traveled, we had a lot of fun, but we weren't the characters outside the ring like they are now.
And you're absolutely right. And I've said this, and and you were too. You had a whole career, as you spoke at the Cauliflower Alley. You had a whole career before you went to the WWE. You were in the AWA. You were in the Charlotte territory. You were all over these other places as Sgt Slaughter. And you guys, I can remember when you guys were in Charlotte, and I was in down in Florida and Memphis, and then up in Calgary for Stu Hart. You guys in Charlotte were doing much better business than the old WWF was doing up in New York. You guys had all the talent there in Charlotte.
Yes. It's amazing. Sometimes you get with a group of guys that just click. You don't form a clique. You just have a good time, and everybody likes each other, and everybody enjoyed watching each other. And we were storytellers, and you're one of the best storytellers of all time, as our era was. That's what we did. We told stories. We did our matches so people could follow that story. And every week there was an addition to the story. Now it goes so fast that it's hard to follow it. If you don't watch it every week, you miss out on a few things, and you're lost. And we just happen to, have the right characters and the right guys in a territory, and that ended up being in the WWE later on. We had it in the AWA, we had it in Charlotte, we had it in the WWE, and it was fun to go to work, and we just enjoyed each other, and there was no jealousy, and there was no cliques, and it was just a lot of fun.
We had J.J. Dillon on last week, and the week before I had Jerry Jarrett, and he said exactly the same thing you just said. The reason that it was so successful is because everyone had fun and everybody clicked together. Right.
You couldn't wait.
And you guys, and for some of the fans that don't remember, Sarge, most of the top guys out of Charlotte, you and Piper and Snuka and Bob Orton Jr. and the Booker George Scott, Ricky Steamboat, the list went on of you guys who came up to New York and popped that place wide open.
Yeah, we did. We had John Studd come in, and he started a little feud with Andre the Giant, and Snuka and Morocco got going, and myself and the Iron Sheik, and you and the Macho Man, and Steamboat, and some of your other opponents, Roddy Piper, and it was just we all kind of we didn't make any agreements like LeBron James and his buddies to go to become world champions at a basketball franchise. We just happened to all end up there, and we all liked each other, and it was a good time.
It really was, and we did all have fun. And I tell people that when the gears are in sync, that baby's going to roll down the highway, and she's going to purr like a kitten, and that's what we did.
Yes. Roddy Piper, when he brought me up for the award, he almost had me in tears because he said that I was a hard guy to say goodbye to, and when we said goodbye to each other, we missed each other, and that's the way it was with all of us. Whenever we'd say goodbye to each other, we never knew when we'd see each other again. We were hoping to be soon, but it's just one of those things where you become brothers amongst each other, and as I said earlier, you become family because you're with each other more than you are your own family, and you just hate to hear any news about anybody going down or having problems, and it just becomes a tight knit fraternity, and we just enjoy it. Just had good times together. Everybody looked out. We were our own. We were our own. We didn't have guys standing around the ring protecting us, and very seldom do we have any barriers or ropes or anything like that. We were our own protection, and nobody left an arena until everybody was done and got to their cars, and we were off to the next place we had to go to.
Absolutely, and if you got a minute to stay with us, we're going to take a quick break, and I want to talk to you about when you did come back, and you came back strong to the WWE for that WrestleMania with Hogan in California, and I want to talk about that just for a second.
Yeah, I'll be with you.
Okay.
Okay, fans, we'll be back in a few moments with Honky Tonk Man and the legendary Sgt Slaughter. We'll be back in a few.
This is the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest WWE Intercontinental Champion of all time, and every Monday night, you're going to shake, rattle, and roll. Woo! Yeah! Oh! Yeah! Oh, Honky Tonk Man, you're in the danger zone. Yeah! Space is the place. Yeah!
Welcome back to Shake, Rattle, and Roll with Steve Wilton and the Honky Tonk Man. Call us live on 805-727-7113. 805-727-7113.
Welcome back to Shake, Rattle, and Roll, fans. We're on the air with the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man, and a former World Wrestling Entertainment Heavyweight Champion, Sgt Slaughter. Honky, how awesome is this to have Sarge on the line with us tonight?
Well, every week we have someone, and I say I'm like a kid in a candy store, and if I keep doing this stuff, I'm going to gain so much weight because of all the candy, but I'm having a great time, and for all the fans out there, Steve Wilton also does the Sgt Slaughter website, and Steve, if you want to plug Sgt Slaughter's site, it'd be a good time right now.
Yeah, it's SGTslaughter.com. That's SGTslaughter.com. You can check out all the Sgt Slaughter news, his official Twitter page, and for any independent promoters that want to book Sarge, there's also a link there to contact Sgt Slaughter's agents for your independent bookings.
Well, I know Sarge stays pretty busy, and I was talking about one of Sarge's agents on the weekend who keeps him busy doing the baseball stuff, and I'm going to have to reach out to Jonathan Gold and have him start working with me again.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sarge, before we go into you coming back and doing the Hogan WrestleMania thing in California, which I remember, you gave a very moving speech at the Cauliflower Alley, and it talked about your history that I didn't know about, and that's the beauty of listening to someone that you and I didn't cross paths for 20 years of our careers, but you gave such a moving speech, and I did not know that you were a Minnesota person, and coming on later is going to be Road Warrior Animal, another Minnesota. But tell us about the Minnesota connection that we've all talked about in this business, because there's so many of you guys.
I'm not sure why it is, Honky. It must be the water. I'm not sure. We've had a lot of great athletes come out of Minnesota and become professional wrestlers, and I just happened, as I said in my speech, I kind of was born into it. My father was a big wrestling fan, and I could have gone, another hour talking at the Cauliflower Convention, but I looked out and I saw everybody was, it was late, and I didn't want to keep dragging on to it. But there were, I don't know if it was the training, Vern Gagne and Billy Robinson, or if it was just a combination of, great athletes. or what it all was about Minnesota, but it just sure did accumulate, and the AWA was a wonderful place to work because you only worked 14 to 15 times a month, and you were off at home just about every time you got out of the squared circle, and you headed home, and very seldom did you have to stay overnight, and it was just a ideal territory. You did do a lot of driving, but in the winter it was a little rough. But that's when you made more money, was in the wintertime. It was amazing how people would come out in snowstorms, and they would tell people, whatever you do, don't go out tonight, and we'd sell out the Minneapolis Auditorium, just a pretty incredible fan base, and just goes back to what people enjoyed watching, the storytelling, and if you can tell them a story that they want to see, they're going to come and watch it.
Yeah, and you guys had tremendous business there, and in fact, the business was so good that was, of course, was the first place that Vince wanted to come and take over. I say raid, as in take over all the top talent and bring over to New York, and he was successful in doing that, and then he came back and took them again and kept taking guys until Vern just became a small regional promotion.
Yeah, he just couldn't. He wouldn't keep up with it. He, I don't know if it was financially or what, or if he just didn't want to go into the entertainment business and wanted to stay in the wrestling business. But for some reason, he just didn't give any battle. I mean, he didn't go after it, and I think he should have.
Yeah, and all the other promoters did the same thing. I mean, they were old school kind of wrestling promoters and didn't believe that Vince was going to be able to accomplish what he did. And of course, he has done great things. But tell the fans who was in your training school when you were there, because that was interesting when you went down the list of names.
Well, the year before me, when I had to do the tryout, was Vern Gagne's son, Hagen. There's Jim Burdell, Ken Patera, Cosmo Vasari, the Iron Sheik, and there was quite a few Minnesota athletes in that group ahead of me. And when I went to the training camp, it was Chris Taylor, myself, and Paul Pershman. And then we had a couple of referees that wanted to be professional wrestlers. Bill Crouch was one of them. And one day, Vern decided to, make an announcement on his TV show on a Saturday night, which went out live, that anybody that wanted to be a professional wrestler should come to the training facility that next Monday morning. And there must have been about, probably 100 to 150 people show up, all sizes and shapes and colors, and just one guy made it through that whole training session. That was Buck Zumoff. And
oh gosh, well, Buck
rock and roll Buck Zumoff, and and he was the only one that really stuck with it. And so Vern let him train with us, but he didn't let him graduate with us.
Buck called in last week, the week before, when I was with Jerry Jarrett, and he went on a rant and a rave there. So, but anyway, he does a wonderful job up there doing what he does. He has a daughter. I don't know if you saw it, Cauliflower, but he has a daughter that's probably one of the best lady wrestlers I've ever seen. She is the one of the best I've ever seen.
Yep. That's
Tell me now. Let's talk really fast, because I know you're busy, and then I want to get into to plug everything that you got going. You are the ambassador for WWE. You do a lot of charity work for them. You go out and do all kind of free ticket sales and charity golf events and things of that nature. They do a wonderful job now reaching out to the communities, like they didn't do when you and I were there. They didn't do that stuff. They kept us protected. But you do all that stuff for them now. Tell me about coming back and you being, of course, you're the good guy now, like I am. We're both good guys, but you were the bad guy with Sheik Adnan going against Hogan And I thought the match was supposed to be outside at the Coliseum in L.A., but it got moved inside. Was it any kind of a security reason because somebody was after going to maybe get you or what?
Yep. You know, I finished up with Hasbro and G.I. Joe, and one Sunday morning or afternoon I was watching the NASCAR race. I was living in Connecticut, and I got a phone call, and I said hello, and of course the voice said Sarge, and I said yes, and he said, this is Vince, and there's only one Vince, so I said, yes, sir. He says, I see your contract is finished with G.I. Joe. I said, funny you would know that, you know. He said, well, I've been kind of following you, and I sent him a letter on WrestleMania 7 and told him what a great job I thought that Kevin Dunn and his whole production crew did at that Toronto event, and to me it's pretty spectacular. And I hadn't really followed wrestling or the WWE much after I'd gotten into G.I. Joe. I was just too busy, and was a little bit hurt that Vince let me go anyway. But so when I was watching the WrestleMania 7, I decided to send him a little note, and he called me and said, I appreciate the letter, and are you ready to go back to work? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, meet me at my house tomorrow morning at a certain time, and I got an idea. So I went to have dinner that night with my family, my two little girls and my wife, and said I was going to have a meeting with Vince McMahon the next morning, and we should all be pretty excited that maybe I'll be going back to the WWE. So I went to Vince's expecting that I was going to be, taken even further because of how he knows how to promote, and take the real American hero Sgt. Slaughter right out of G.I. Joe and make him bigger than life. And I got there, he started telling me this idea of that he'd like me to wrestle Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 7. And I said, what do you mean wrestle Hulk Hogan? And he said, I said, are you going to make Hulk a villain? He goes, no, I'm going to make you a villain. So I was kind of caught by surprise, and he said, here's my idea. And he started talking about the overtake of Kuwait and how the U.S. is so weak, and they're letting a little country like Iraq and Saddam Hussein run rapid over them, and to be a side with Iraq. I thought it was pretty cool because when you're heels, you think about things like that, and it was going to become a reality. So I went. I said, I'll go home and talk to my family about it. He said, yeah, why don't you do that? Because it's a big step. And so I went there, had dinner that night with my family, and I told them the idea that Vince had, and they all kind of looked at me like I was out of my mind. And my wife said, you're crazy. You're going to get killed doing that. So I said, well, let's go for it. So I went for it, and she was pretty correct, because at first I just came back as Sgt. Slaughter the villain, and sided with Iraq, and then they brought General Adnan in, and I mean he looked just like Saddam Hussein, and they brought him into Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we almost had a riot that night, and it just kind of escalated, and Vince was the kind of promoter that let you go as far as you could, and then when it got too far, he would pull you back in. He would pull the reins back, and we really had a lot of fun with it. And, it got to be where when I finally got going, Macho Man broke his hand, and he was in a big storyline with the Ultimate Warrior. So Vince started doing a couple things here and there, and he switched me in with the Ultimate Warrior, and I mean that's like walking into a beehive.
Well, that'll be a whole other show for us.
That's a whole other program. But anyway, we got through that point, and we got to Miami, and we decided to put the title on Sgt. Slaughter. and go after the Hogan thing at WrestleMania. And to make things worse, they kept having Gene Okerlund saying things that I desecrated the flag and all these things, and it just got people pretty upset. I never did those things, but they kept telling them I did. So I'd go into restaurants at 3 o'clock in the morning that I wouldn't get served. I mean, they would tell me, you can't eat here, you're un-American. And this went on, quite a while. I had death threats almost every night that I wrestled. We had bomb threats at the arenas. And after I won the title from the Ultimate Warrior in Miami, I got to Philadelphia, and Chief Strongbow came up to me and said, "Have you talked to Vince today?" And I said, "No." He said, "Have you talked to your wife?" I said, "No." He said, "You might want to call them." So I called my wife. There wasn't an answer, and I called Vince, and he said, "Have you spoken to your wife?" I said, "No." I said, "Well, I talked to her." She called up and said they were going to kill you, kill me, and kill our families, blow up our houses, and blow up the wrestling office, and blow up the studio. And he said, "I couldn't reach you. You're on an airplane, so I called your wife to have her maybe go to a hotel or to a friend's house so I could get some security around your home." And I said, "Well, that's very nice of you to do." And so finally I got a hold of my wife, and she was kind of laughing about it. And I told you this wasn't a good idea. So I got home about 2 days later. When I got home, I lived in a place where you could hardly find it itself because I didn't have a road that had a sign on it. It was a dirt road. And I came back up this kind of a mountainside, and when I did, there was a RV sitting in my driveway. How I got there, I'll never know, but 4 men came walking over to me and showed me that they were packing weapons and that they were going to secure the area and patrol around my home 24/7 and until everything cooled down. And that's basically what happened. They were going to take my children to school and be with them all day, and then be with my wife if she wanted to go to the store. And we said, "No, we aren't going to do that. We don't want to, fuel the fire. We'll run our lives normally as we normally do." And so I went to the school and talked to all the kids and all the teachers, and everybody there, saying that this is just a character that their dad is playing. He's not really that way. I'm not an Iraqi sympathizer. I'm really an American and the Marine Corps and all this and that. And so we got by it okay. And I had to wear a bulletproof vest for a while because we got so many death threats. But the thing in L.A. was we were scheduled to go into the L.A. Coliseum, which Vince had set for 104,000 people, fans, because he wanted to break the Detroit record for WrestleMania. I'm not sure it was 3. And he showed me the layout. It had big screen TVs on both ends, and it was really a nice setup. And about 2 weeks before, they said we had to secure the building, Coliseum, and it was going to cost about $4 or $5 million. And Vince says, "There's no way I'm going to do that. We'll go into the small building." So that's why we ended up going into the smaller building. And we still held the record for many years for a pay-per-view buy, but it's been broken since. But it was quite a hectic time, and the funnest time answering my friends and relatives and my parents and everything like that. But we finally got through it. And when the war started and people were losing their lives, that's when we turned back to winning our country back, and Sgt Slaughter became the hero again.
And you're still a hero today, and well, I wanted to hear that story because I'd heard it just by you hear locker room stories, and I wanted to hear it from you about that, and that for all the fans out there, that is the truth that I heard from several people. It had to be moved indoors because of security, and you went on now to become one of the great good guys of all time in the business, and Gosh, we could go for hours and hours. Sarge, I don't want Road Warrior Animal mad at me, but I'm going another Minnesota guy, and I've got to get him on. And for all the fans out there, if they want Sgt Slaughter, what is it, Steve?
It's SergeantSlaughter.com.
SergeantSlaughter.com,
Yep.
And Sarge has all his contacts are on there, and I guess a book deal will be coming up for you. I'm going to talk to Road Warrior about his book, and I don't know, maybe there will be a book for Honky Tonk Man someday, Sarge. But for all the fans who listen to that story you just told, and all the stories you have told tonight, fans, our business really is real when you have to have armed security guards and bulletproof vests.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes, the book is definitely something I should think about doing, because as I talked at Cauliflower Alley Club for maybe 20, 25 minutes, I only touched a brief part of my career, and there's a lot to talk about, especially with some of those matches with the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, and just traveling up and down the roads, and I think people would really like to hear that kind of thing. And,
I think so. I think that's one way for you to
tell the animal that Johnny Weaver still could put him in the sleeper hold even though he's dead.
I will do that. But I think that if you did a book, it would be a way to tie up so many loose ends of a fabulous 30, 40-year career that's just fantastic. And, you're a great humanitarian, a great human being, a great pro wrestler, and a great friend of mine. And I appreciate you being on with me.
Thank you for having me and allowing me to finally get on. I know it wasn't easy, but we finally got it, and hope to be on again. And continue to
I hope so. Thanks, Sarge. I love you, brother.
Thank you. No push-ups for you.